Are you ready to navigate the new way to work? Forbes Books presents Dare to Care in the Workplace with Kathleen Quinn Botaw. Here's Kathleen.
I'm back with Paula Schneider, the president and CEO of Susan G. Komen, and we've been talking about how her remarkable 30-year career in retail and apparel and how her own cancer battle prepared her to run the world's largest breast cancer organization. Paula, I want to get into building great teams and keeping the right people. There's this feeling that we have to hire somebody and hold on to them forever. Instead, we should be able to have compassionate conversations. You're not happy. We're not happy. Let's figure out how to exit each other, and you go find your happy place. Why do you think people have so much trouble with that?
Oh my God, I think it's fear. And it's fear-based of not knowing all the positions on the team or the players in the band, right? Because if you don't know it all, then you feel like better keep who I have rather than not. I will tell you, I'm going to use this when we went through COVID and we went into a single incorporation and we went from 600 employees down to 300 employees because I had no idea if we were going to raise another dollar. And we're an organization that literally had to be here at the other side because there was no one that was going to pick up the pieces. And everything that we do is so important and for womankind and for the world writ large, right? Because we keep women alive, and the research that we do is global. And so it was really a massive undertaking. So we scaled down to as low as we could go. And that was hard because you're releasing people during the course of COVID where they weren't going to go and get other jobs right away, right? But we had to do it for the benefit of the organization and for the people that we serve, all of our stakeholders. And we then rebuilt back where we needed it. Now, when we had 300 people, you literally could not put on a race or a walk or anything else that we normally would do, right? And what we've started to do again, or any kind of an event, or even the way that we delivered mission became completely different after we did our single incorporation. I think it's really, and this also goes back to my time in private equity, is figuring out what are your strategic initiatives, how are you laying those out, what has the most power, what has the least power, what is the most important things that you do, and how do you translate that throughout the organization. And we have what we call our Focus 4, and essentially it's everyone in the organization knows what we are doing. And I used to walk around and see that one pager, and the one pager has many pages behind it of what each box is going to do, and the metrics and milestone and the accountabilities and what needs to be delivered by when, and what does success look like. And it makes it pretty easy and we get very, very high marks for people understanding what is expected of them. That's just kind of, to me, it's something that I've learned along the way. Now, the templates that I use for it are ones that I absolutely learned during private equity time. But the ideology behind it is literally it's the sharing of, okay, we're going to create our strategies and come together to do that so that everybody owns it. And then everybody understands what are all the toys that are on the table and what's going to make impact for us. And we kind of have like a little Shark Tank that goes every year when we have our offsite leadership. Well, some people would think it's fun. I kind of think it's fun. And everybody has to pitch what they want. If they want any additional employees, any additional money, if they want any, they have to show what's the ROI on it. How many people does it need? What are the interconnectives with other areas? What time and effort and monies does it take? And every aspect of it. And then they have to present, and they have to be really good at presenting in order for people to essentially vote on them. It's not completely a democracy because there are a lot of things that people really want to do for mission. But if you don't raise the money and do all the things that you need to for fundraising, you can't do the things for mission.
What you're defining is leadership. You don't have to be the best at everything to be a good leader. And often we put the best scientist or the best salesperson or the best marketer in leadership. But you know what? Leadership is a skill that people have or they don't. We can't just think they do because they got to where they are through their, through whatever channels. You've got real leadership where you can focus people on the mission and communicate clearly with that clarity so they know where they're going. People do want to know what are we doing? And you can do that in any company, not just Susan G. Komen. Now, obviously, very mission critical, but regardless of the company you have, that focus forward on what we're trying to achieve, and as Simon Sinek would say, the why behind the what. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do what you do. If they can find that kernel, they'll get there. So, you talk a lot about this fashion girl in the philanthropic world. I think fashion is really connected in some way, especially with Susan G. Komen, because the fashion piece, I think, helps people feel better. If they can get up every morning, male or female, and put something on that makes them feel confident, feel good about their body, their mindset is more positive for everything else they're supposed to do. So I believe your fashion girl has influenced not only you, but all those around you.
I will tell you how I feel about that. That's an interesting concept. I used to say in any of the fashion companies that I worked at that we're selling emotional, right? Because we are. If you go to your closet, for the most part, and people have enough clothes to wear, right? They decide that they need something because if they buy that dress, then they're going to get a date, or their boyfriend's going to propose when they look so cute, or whatever it might be. Or there's the comfort factor and working from home and all of those things. So there's all of these different avenues that it takes for you to be able to have your right feeling, right? Your emotion. So it's an emotional buy. It's really the same thing when we are talking about hope, and we are talking about giving people hope, right? So it is an emotional thing. I don't have a pair of jeans to sell you if you care about Susan G. Komen. I have the hope and a strategy behind the hope, because hope in and of itself is not a strategy. Behind the research, behind the research that we do, and the laws that we change, and the people that we help, and the health equity that we support. So we have to tell a really compelling story that is emotionally charged to make people react. And it's kind of the same thing when you're trying to sell a really pretty dress, or something to someone, because they feel a certain way when they do it. And there's been all these studies on happiness. And if you are doing something for the greater good, you are inherently happier. Now, I get to do it in spades, which is not, most people will not have this type of opportunity in their lives. But there's always an opportunity to dedicate some volunteer time, or for whatever it is you care about. If you care about breast cancer, hey, have at it. Please visit us on our website. We need volunteers everywhere. We're still building back from COVID. And we would love to have you, because it takes a village. But if you care about dogs, and volunteer at the SPCA or whatever it is, because it will make you happier. And that's a big part of it. So, selling emotion, whether it's in fashion, or selling emotion, whether it's the hope of a better and brighter future without breast cancer. It's not exactly the same thing, but it does still tug on you.
So yet again, another thread from your fashionista, fashion girl world into where you are today. And it is emotional. It is all emotional. When we buy things, it's emotional. When we give to organizations that do good, it's emotional. And I also learned that you're doing work with an organization called C200. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, there's a couple of them, C200 and Fortune's Most Powerful Women. And C200 is women that have run and been in the C-suite that of running companies. I think it's over 200 or 250 million. Or they are entrepreneurs with over a certain amount. And it's really an interesting group of women that get together and help each other. And you can relate to each other, and you talk to each other about certain things that go on in your businesses. And it's just a support group of really fabulous women. I enjoy that tremendously. And then I'm part of the Fortune's Most Powerful Women. I've been a speaker there almost every year, I think, for the last however many years. They do this thing called the Big Hello, and you get to hear where people are from. They get 10 seconds each. So it's not like you get to hear it, but you hear, I'm an astronaut and the first woman that landed on the moon. Or, like it's things that I would have no perspective of whatsoever, but I think it's so fascinating that you have all of these different women that are all super powerful in their own fields and literally could move mountains and do move mountains because they care. And that's a conference that they have that I enjoy very much. And it sort of allows me to take a minute away from my day-to-day and get some perspective on things and ways to think about things and all of the different opportunities that are out there.
It's so important, isn't it, that we all take a minute to, kind of regroup and find out for ourselves, what are we doing that gives us joy? What are we doing that doesn't give us joy? And how can we bring more joy to the world and do things that we love to do? And back to do things that are meaningful to you. Marcus Buckingham was on my podcast, and he said, we have to love at least 25% of what we do every day, or we're going to shrivel up. So it's okay to look for the love in work. I said love in the workplace. Everybody relax. It's okay. It's a thing. And I would imagine at Susan G. Komen, it's a big thing. So I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate your organization, the people who work with you, what you do for the community. And I love that they have you running the organization because of your perspective, not only as a survivor, but as a woman who's led other companies, because you can lead Susan G. Komen to a whole new frontier and we can do more good.
Yeah, that's the goal. In our research in the last decade, Susan G. Komen invests early in researchers. And in the last decade, of the 19 FDA-approved new drugs, and that's in a decade, 19 breast cancer drugs in a decade. If you're a scientist, you go, wow, that's a lot. And if you're everybody else in the world, you go, is that it? But out of the 19 new drugs that have come to market, we have been early investors in every single one of them. And I don't know how many would have made it had we not made those choices. The work that we do in last year in our public policy and advocacy work, again, that's the number 19. It's interesting. We had 19 Komen-led state bills, 15 of which passed. And these are bills that are for women's health, like oral parity is one thing. And each state has different issues, right? So we train people up on each state and figure out what we need to pass. But like oral parity, if your doctor said to you, when you come in for chemo, I'm just going to give you a pill and you could just go home and take the pill. Or you can sit in an infusion lab for 5 hours with, and go through that hell on wheels, right? But your payor decides that one is a medical treatment and one is a medicine that you take, and it may not be covered. That's not right. Your doctor should be able to say to you, here's a pill, go home and take it. And you're like, hallelujah, brother, happy to do that. And there's other things like a fast fail rule. If your doctor says drug A is really good for you, that's the one you should take. And then your insurance company says, well, but drug B is kind of similar to drug A, and you should try that because it's a lot less expensive for us. But if you don't die and it doesn't work, then we'll give you drug A. I mean, things like that exist that people don't know about, but those are all the sorts of things that we work on behind the scenes. Diagnostics. If you have insurance that covers mammogram, but you may not have one that then covers diagnostics, and that's expensive. So you're going to spend, $1,000 if you don't have it. And you're told, yeah, I think we see something in there. It doesn't look great. But we have to do a neat core needle biopsy in order for us to really tell. And you can't afford to get that done. You're going to be living with breast cancer, or you may be living with breast cancer, and things like that we are fighting the fight behind the scenes. So it's really, really, really important work.
It's vital work. And you might not know that I worked in the protocol office of Dana-Farber Cancer Institute when I was in college, typing the protocols. I learned more about cancer research and how important it was that there were new ideas, new medications, new diagnostics, and innovation in treatment. So hurrah for 19 and 15, keep it coming, because we need it. We need to just kill this cancer. I'm ready to crush it with you.
Okay, well, good, because then I'm going to ask you to do something, and it'll be interesting for you, because we have built out this platform, and it's a patient-led platform, and it is a massive research project for us. It's called Share for Cures, just like it sounds, Share for Cures. And this is literally just women helping to save lives of other women. And we are going out to our patient population and all of the stakeholders that are out there, of all the survivors and people that are living with metastatic breast cancer, and asking them to join our Share for Cures platform. If we get 10,000 women, which we will, it'll take us time, but we will have the largest database on breast cancer outside of medical institution, which can democratize the ability to do research. So this is a really disruptive idea. We have the top docs in the world, the top scientists in the world that can help us, and they help us with our peer-to-peer of what we should be researching. And we will do Komen-led research that could possibly crack the code, because it would be the largest database outside of a medical institution. And medical institutions may be relegated to the researchers that they have, where we have no dog in the hunt. We have, the top researchers in the world. And our first research project will be why a hormone-based breast cancer, which is about 75%, recurs. And it could be 5, 10, 15, 20 years later and can recur and then become metastatic. And so we're going to figure out, can we crack the code on this if we try it differently? And, we've been doing really, really innovative work like that. We've been supporting AI for years and machine learning. There's, one woman that we have been supporting her learnings, where she does this magnificent speech about how AI and machine learning can detect breast cancer on mammograms years earlier than the naked eye can see. And she's a breast cancer survivor, and she shows how 3 years earlier than she was actually detected, it was there, and she would have been stage 0. And if that becomes the standard of care, you will save millions of lives, because you will have stage 0 and stage 1. So, those are the behind the scenes things that we work on every day. We always have about 250 research projects going in any given moment.
It's wonderful work, and I wish I could talk to you for another hour. And I think our paths are going to cross soon in person somewhere down the road. I believe that quite.
Maybe when I do my little book signing, because I wrote a book. It's a children's book. It's not coming out till 2025 from Penguin Random House, but I wanted to write a book on how people tell their children, their small children, that they are sick, whether it's breast cancer or something else. And so we wrote this very sweet book. There was a little bit of a bidding war for it, which was astonishing to me, because I'd never thought, this was just a kernel of an idea that came to fruition. And now we have literary agents, publishers. I have it all now. And it's going to come out next year, and it's called A Love Stays Strong. And it's, just a way for us to have women that have smaller children, or men that have smaller children, explain to them that there's mommy and daddy aren't going to be exactly the same. And then, hopefully we will write another book that's for teens and all the way through high school, and with their life experiences of going through this, because we want to make it easy for people to understand how to tell your children, and for kids to understand what the ramifications are and what's going on with their parents.
I think there's another book in how do you tell your employees?
It could be.
How to get people you that choose you to follow into uncertainty every day. So that could be a joint project we do together.
And following that is how employees tell their employers.
Yes, because when I had my first cancer, thyroid cancer, when I was 34, I'll tell you, my company, God bless them, didn't handle it very well. I was a new mom, cancer, thyroid cancer, which everybody says is the good cancer, which I'm going to advise anybody listening, don't tell anybody they have the good cancer, because good cancer
nobody
is good.
Feels like when you have a cancer diagnosis, it's any kind of good.
It's really a funny little phrase. I found that to be humorous. But they did not know, the employer didn't know what to do. And they, really went to performance. She had to go out for another doctor's appointment, So I think the employer, what does the employer do? And how does the employee communicate? Could be a whole nother journey. Yeah. So how do people find you so they can get in touch with you?
Well, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, because if there's ever anything, from a corporate sponsorship, anybody that you want to volunteer or whatever it is. And there's actually 2 Paula Schneiders. There's me, and then there's Miss Bolivia, poor thing, because she's this gorgeous creature that, I'm not the one that's in the bikini. So it's the other Paula Schneider.
But you could be, because you're gorgeous girl too.
Thank you. Or our website, which is just Komen.org, and you can look it up. And if there's so many ways to volunteer and get involved or donate, which is the most important thing that we can do. And, we're also more than happy to send your company's information about breast health and all of that. We want to help because, our dog in the hunt is getting more word out there. And if people could just get to the medical treatments that exist today, we would have 30% less deaths.
I know. And that's the saddest thing. The report I read that people can't get to treatment just tore my heart out. I'm fortunate. I live in Denver, Colorado, and we're right with UC Health. And shout out to my beautiful team of female doctors who are rocking it. My oncologists, they're just amazing women who are, made a big difference in my life and my families and my employees. So, it is a journey and we're all on it together. I have so enjoyed meeting you virtually, and I cannot wait to meet you in person. Many blessings for many more years of making great decisions for all of us that will help cure this yucky thing, this awful cancer, but also all that you bring to the world, not just your role at Susan G. Komen, but everything you bring to the party. You're pretty special.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I much appreciate it. And may your journey be in your rearview mirror soon and your life get back to normal, because that's all you want.
That is all we want. So be well until we meet again.
Thank you. And thanks for having me.
This has been Dare to Care in the Workplace. To connect with Kathleen, go to KathleenQuinnBotaw.com. Kathleen's book, Dare to Care, is available wherever books are sold. Dare to Care in the Workplace is a production of Forbes Books.